Hi, Rachel. Thanks so much for joining us. You made a really memorable impression on Destination X with your style, your gameplay, and of course, your heartfelt story. So, to start off, what initially drew you to join the show, and what were you hoping to get out of the experience?
I was hoping to get money out of the experience, and that is also what drew me to the show. I'm like, $250,000. Listen, I'll do a lot of things for $250,000, and I'm not a glamping girl. They're like, you're gonna be on a bus. It's not gonna be glamorous, and I was like, I mean, for money, for the chance to win a huge prize money, yeah, I'll do it. And of course, the concept of the show, right? Like a very cool once in a lifetime experience, but let's be honest, I'm like, it's a prize money for sure.
Absolutely. And Rachel, kind of a heavy question here, but you also shared a very personal story about your IVF journey, which really resonated with a lot of people as we saw online. How did that feel watching that back and realizing that your story touched so many viewers, including us on this podcast?
That's exactly why I wanted to share it. It actually is something that I didn't share with anybody in my family, my friend group. Seeing it on TV was probably the first time a lot of people in my life are hearing about it because it's something that I think in the beginning, when you're accepting it, you kind of want to suffer in silence because you don't really want people always asking, like, how's it going? Is it working? And then it's weird. It's like, so you guys are having sex a lot, right? Like it's an odd conversation, but I was like, I want to be open because so many women struggle with it. So many of my friends struggle with it. And it's like, why not be transparent about it? Like, I think a lot of people who get pregnant, will use IVF or use things, and maybe they just don't share that part of it, which is totally their choice. But then it's kind of like, what's wrong with me? That I'm one of the only people I know that can't do it. Like, what's wrong with my body? So it just felt like I just want to share it. I don't gatekeep anything in my life. Like, it's easier to share everything than share what the highlights are.
Yeah, absolutely. And your story again really touched our audience. It was one of the things that they were interested in hearing more about. So happy to hear that from you.
And it's a little tricky now because I actually am divorced at this point now from the show. So I'm like, it even sets back further my timeline, right? Of becoming a mom because it's something that I really wanted. And now I'm gonna have to like kind of start that process again, when I do meet somebody else. But I will say that like meeting people on the show, they really became like my anchor during that time. Like Mac and Ali and Ty like have really been there for me during this time and were like a soft place to land. Like Mac and Ali, they're roommates in Austin. They were like, oh my gosh, like come stay with us. And they were like angelic. And I like stayed with them for 2 weeks while I like found out what I was gonna do with my life. So and like Ty was so supportive with her experience because she's also been through a divorce and she's
Mhm.
like so much insight for me. So who would have thought these people that I met on a bus that I was trying to compete against, that I was like, we probably won't be super close friends in the real world, have become like, they like mean everything to me now. So it was just really cool to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was even just going to follow up and say this. We just interviewed Jonah last week, and he was mentioning that he's rooting for you and called you one of his friends in the game. What was your friendship like with him? And obviously, were there any other players who you also bonded with that maybe we didn't see?
I'm obsessed with Jonah. I love him with my whole heart. Like Jonah is the kindest, purest person you will ever meet. Like truly, like you cannot meet somebody better than Jonah that exists. And I was so sad when he left. They didn't show it, but I was like really torn up about it because I honestly felt like because I didn't really have close connections with any of the other players, Jonah was one of the people that I felt like was one of my only allies. And so when he left, I was like, fuck, I'm alone. And also, he just brought this energy to the bus, like very peaceful, very calming. So my praises are so high for Jonah. I love him like to death.
Absolutely. And I was just going to also ask you about having no alliances in the game. How did that feel during filming and getting now to watch it back and reflect on it on the show?
It's very obvious like what I was feeling in the moment is like I should have trusted my gut because I could feel that connections were being made and I was not necessarily on the inside of those conversations. And it's one thing to kind of feel it and be like, I wonder if they're like all meeting, like when you're in the shower and you're kind of like, I talking about stuff like while I'm in here, like getting ready. And it's like, then you see it on TV, you're like, see, my gut was right. Like I did feel it. What I felt was reality. And I think it's just was a good lesson on trusting your gut with a lot of things because like you can feel that, especially too with some of the answers in the map room. I didn't always go with what my initial gut feeling was. And it just was a big lesson to me, like, girl, your gut was right the first time. Like, trust it because it knows. I don't know how, I don't know what gut tells us that, but somehow my stomach biomes are telling me something and I gotta listen to them.
Absolutely. And in our final question, now that the show has wrapped for you, what's next? And how has this experience potentially changed or inspired your future plans?
I would love to go on another show this time to really prove myself, right? Now, ideally it'd be a dating show because I don't want to date. So I'm like, maybe they'll put me on a show with like dating or something because like I hate dating. But I really want to be able to prove myself. I understand the game better. I know that if it was a competition show, I think I'd have a better strategy. And I just realized too, in that kind of environment, you're going to meet people you would have never met before. And so, I would love to do that. But what's going to be next for me is still going to be having a family. It's not going to be in the timeline I wanted it to be, but I am excited to see what happens next.
Absolutely. And that was our final question, but we do also have just one last thing. Any advice you'd like to leave for fans or future contestants on Destination X?
If I had good advice, I would have won the show. So don't listen to anything I have to say other than trust your gut and listen to yourself. Make good alliances, but also don't take anything I say because I didn't win. So also ask whoever wins at the end of that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Don't Blame Char, Rachel. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to all of your future endeavors.
Me too. It was so nice to meet you, Char.
All right. Have a great day.
Yeah, bye.